the Alpha Foxtrot AF-C. Let's check it out. The Alpha Foxtrot AF-C is produced in Duluth, Georgia. I came across one of these about 3 or 4 years ago at some kind of media event. I picked it up. I was checking it out. It's an aluminum frame Glock Gen 3 inspired pistol. So there's a lot of parts compatibility, you know, and we've seen a few of these out there. The quality though of the Alpha Foxtrot, to me, it impressed me when I first saw it. And now that I have one in my hand and I've been shooting this one, it gives you a whole different feel for the Glock 19 size. And guys, the Glock 19 is one of Glock's most popular designs ever. I mean, it's that size where it's a full shooting handgun at the range, and yet it's concealable. It's compact, and it holds 15 rounds. Same thing with the Alpha Foxtrot AF-C. I mean, of course, it uses your standard Glock mags, and it just has that heft to it, just a little bit, with the aluminum frame. But it definitely gives you a totally different shooting experience. So we're going to talk about this. There's a number of different ones out on the market, but I really feel like this is the best that's out there. And again, made right there in Duluth, Georgia, right there in the backyard of Glock Incorporated. And again, we really appreciate the guys over at Alpha Foxtrot for sending the AF-C for this review. Guys, we live in the golden age of firearms, and whether we see a completely new design or we see an upgrade of a proven, tried and true design, there are so many different choices out there. Now, this is the Alpha Foxtrot AF-C. It's based on the Glock Gen 3. Glock's patents on the Gen 3 have expired, and so we're now seeing a lot of companies come in and just take it to another level. The big thing about this one is it does have an aluminum frame that's forged. It's really well done. And then we have a stainless steel slide, but there are a lot of other features to it. There really are a lot of advantages. Let's go ahead and make sure that the gun is unloaded. We're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber. It does come with a Glock PMag. I'm not a huge fan of the Glock PMags. I have had a few issues with them, so I usually typically stick with your standard Glock mag. And of course, the great thing is the Glock mag works just perfectly in here as well. In fact, when we were at the range, we were shooting both PMags and Glock mags, and honestly, they both function fine. But we have 15 rounds capacity. It is the Glock 19 size. Now, the slide and the barrel are 416R forged stainless steel. The barrel is 4.06 inches in length, and it's button rifled. And they call this their Ultra Match barrel. The frame is 70/75 T6 aluminum. Of course, it's machined into one piece. Now, one big thing that I like, again, is not only the aluminum frame, but some of the changes that have been made to the frame. First off, it has an 18-degree grip angle, so you're getting that 1911 grip angle. You also have this beaver tail, which comes up, and it makes it really low in your hand, but also when you have recoil, it seems to give you more surface on the web of your hand. And again, it helps mitigate recoil. Another point is right here what they call the gas pedal. And when you're shooting both thumbs forward, it allows you just to put your thumb right there and again, mitigate recoil. But one of the things about an aluminum frame over a standard polymer frame, and here we have just a Glock 19 Gen 3. The polymer frame does flex. And when I was firing these side by side, I was really seeing the big difference between the flex of the polymer frame compared to the rigidity of this forged aluminum frame. Now, this is 70/75 T6 aluminum, which is premium. It does give it a little more heft, so the weight's a little bit greater, but again, that also mitigates a lot of your recoil. The differences are about 4 ounces. We'll check it. But no finger grooves on the front here, and we have serrations, or just serrations straight down front and back. And then we have texturing that's here on the side. With the Glock, of course, you have your pyramid shapes or your little squares, and then at the front with the finger grooves, and then in between. Fairly smooth right here. With the AF-C, I mean, it has a little more aggressive texturing right here, but now your newer Glocks have more aggressive texturing. But honestly, gripping the pistol, it's front and back of the grip where you're grabbing the gun. That's where it's giving you that bite. On the sides is not really that important. One thing you'll notice with the Glock is we have this little thumb rest right here. With the AF-C, we have a cutout coming around the back and around the front. And then we have our mag release, which is checkered. Now the mag release obviously is going to be a proprietary part for the AF-C. We have a small, especially with the Gen 3, we have a real small mag release, and they've extended that with the Gen 5s. But this is going to be something that, it comes with the pistol. So, and honestly, it's a huge upgrade to me. I wouldn't want to switch out to the standard Glock mag release. The serrations are a little more fine. With the Glock, of course, they're thicker. And then with the Gen 3, you don't have the front slide serrations, which you do have with the AF-C. Now, also, you'll notice that here on the slide, you have it cut, and so it doesn't look quite as thick and blocky. Gives it a little more styling right here. It's going to be easier to draw in and out of holsters. Now, of course, here at the front of the slide, with the Gen 3, you have it more squared off. Now, the newer Glocks are more like the AF-C. They're kind of cut back. It gives you a little more, especially when you're putting it in a holster, you're drawing it, and honestly, I think it just looks better. You get a 2-slot Picatinny rail with the AF-C. You get the Glock rail on the front. This is going to give you a little more compatibility with different lights and lasers. Also, with the trigger guard, it is cut off this little angle that's right here. So again, it just brings the pistol down a little less of a footprint. As far as triggers go, I have one of the Wheaton Arms flat face triggers in this, which I really love. But this is just one of your standard Glock triggers, and you can replace that out with whatever you want to. I do like the cutout at the bottom of the frame in case you have any kind of malfunctions and you need to pull that magazine out. It gives you a little bit of a lip right here to do it. With the Glock, this cavity in the back is what aids you in pulling out your magazine. But with this grip, it actually comes up and meets to it. So it's a little more difficult, but yet you can get it. And here on the Glock Gen 3, you have your takedown levers, has a little bit of a cutout. Here with the AF-C, we just have an oval that protects it. These are still easy to get to. There is a pin on the AF-C that's lacking on the Glock Gen 3. This pin actually holds in your takedown pin spring. And when we break this down, we're going to look to see some of the differences that are internally with the AF-C. Also, right here at the rear of the slide, we do have a little bit of a slope, which it's just flat on the Glock. Now, the sights on the AF-C are pretty standard Glock. They are polymer, and it has a goalpost at the back and then a white dot at the front. But of course, these can be switched out with any aftermarket sights. And the one thing about polymer sights is they can get damaged, especially if you're in a critical situation. And so a lot of guys, including myself, will switch these sights out. Now, it does have an undercut right here, so that's going to help with the Glock knuckle. I typically relieve this area on my standard Glocks to give me a little more higher purchase and round it off just to make it more comfortable when shooting. Now we'll check the trigger pull. Little take up right here. Spongy, just like your standard Glock. Reset. Right about there. Pretty much Glock trigger. All right, let's check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 5 pounds, 10.3 ounces. And I've checked this 3 times, and honestly it comes out about the exact same, 5 pounds 10 ounces. Now again, all the parts are compatible. You can take this slide and put it vice versa on either one. A lot of different parts compatibility. But when Alpha Foxtrot first introduced their Glock frame, it was just an aluminum frame. They still offer that, and you can add your existing Glock slide to the frame. The one thing about the frame though is, for me, is it has smooth sides. There's no texturing at all on the sides, which honestly theoretically doesn't matter because you do have the front and back, which is what you grip. But a lot of people are kind of questioning that. And of course, you can put Talon grips on it. A lot of people put grip tape on it. But you can also send this in somewhere and have it checkered, whatever pattern you like. And you could do a lot of things like that. Of course, you'd have to have it refinished. And that's according to if you want to go to that expense. But they are available on their website. Weight on the Alpha Foxtrot AF-C. 1 pound, 11.6 ounces. Weight on the Glock Gen 3. 19. 1 pound, 7.8 ounces. So about a 4-ounce difference. Really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammunition, all made in the USA. One of the largest suppliers of ammunition in the country. We're shooting some 115 grain ball. We've got quite a bit to shoot. And also we appreciate Lula Loaders for saving our thumbs with this new red, white, and blue Mag Lula. These things are great. When it comes to an aluminum frame in an original striker fire pistol, you can really gauge the difference. One of the things I did is put these side by side. I brought out my Glock Gen 5 Model 19, shot the AF-C, and there is a definite telling difference. One of the big things about your original Glock is that when you fire it, it kind of vibrates a little bit. It kind of jumps around. Just a touch. And I've been shooting Glock 19s, since they come out. In fact, I have over 100,000 rounds through Glock 19s. When it comes to the AF-C, it's just more stable. I mean, it just shoots flatter. There's more stability. It doesn't bounce around like the Glock does. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm a big fan of the Glock 19. But comparing it with the aluminum frame, it just fits in your hand, and it's not as thick as the Glock 19. It's a little bit thinner here on the sides, so it gives you, just to me, a little bit of a better grip. This pad allows you to put your thumb here, and it actually mitigates a lot of the recoil. It keeps the muzzle flip down, or the muzzle rise. And it definitely makes a difference. It was funny because when I was shooting at the range, I wasn't even thinking about it. All of a sudden it hit me and I said, I should be using this little ledge. Now for me, it kind of comes out a little far from what I'm normally used to, but it still fits in very well. And if you have longer fingers or thumbs, it's going to be easier for you. But it definitely tames the recoil. The smoothness of the aluminum, it's very well done. I mean, all the edges are deburred, and it's just a very sleek firearm. I like that the slide is just almost nondescript. I mean, it's just got that plain stainless steel look to it. The serrations on the back are really easy to get to, and of course you have front serrations. They're not quite as aggressive, but yet they're more aggressive than the Glock. Of course, on this model it has your standard Glock sights, but I've been using those forever and they work. But probably an upgrade to metal sights or night sights would be in order, and something that I'll definitely do. Of course, if you have any malfunctions, which we didn't have, I mean, it shot flawlessly, but you do have that little area that's cut out in the frame where you can rip that magazine right out if you need to. But guys, compared to the Glock 19, this shot better. I like the way it shoots. Does it have the reliability record of the Glock 19? Not yet, but we'll see how that goes. Of course, the little beaver tail, it allows you to get really high on the pistol, and yet it doesn't add that big extra piece that the Glocks now will allow for on your Gen 5. You can add a beaver tail to it, but it extends the grip out. One of the things about this aluminum is it allows you just to kind of make it still thin, and yet it's still strong. And then you can get your hand up there and you don't change the dimensions of the grip. And for me, having medium hands, it's important. And again, guys, I'm a big Glock 19 fan, and this just fits right in that niche, and yet it gives you some advantages with the aluminum frame while you're shooting it. Now at the range, one thing we noticed was the ejection pattern was kind of a little bit erratic. A lot were going pretty far from the pistol, some of them were coming out short. I think that's just, again, an ejection issue, and that can be tuned to be a little more consistent. But that is a problem with a lot of Glocks. Now for disassembly, Drop your magazine, check to make sure the gun's unloaded. Obviously, it's just like the Glock. Pull the trigger, pull back about 1/8 of an inch, pull down on your takedown tabs, and then pull the slide right off. Recoil spring and guide rod, polymer just like your Glock. The barrel, again, 416R stainless, and it is very well done, button pulled rifling. And then, of course, we have our slide. Now, I haven't cleaned it. You can see that it's pretty dirty, but the machining on this slide and on the frame is just exceptional. It's beefed up quite a bit more on the rails. Here with the Glock rails, you can see how minimal they are compared to a little more extension. So it's going to give you a little more slide rail here. And so that's one part that's going to be a little bit different than your standard Glock frame. Here at the back, very short rails. Here on the AF-C, it has longer rails. But pretty much everything else is very compatible. Now right here where we have that little pin that goes through the trigger guard, that holds in the spring that is for your takedown lever. But I think the springs are the same. On the Glock, it actually fits up under in the polymer. There's a little slot there. And so with this, it just has that pin to act as that slot. And that's all you need to do to field strip. To reassemble, just reverse order, drop in your barrel, your recoil spring and guide rod. Bring it back over our frame. And we're good to go. The manufacturer suggested retail price is $690. There are dealers out there that are carrying these, and typically market price is less. Again, if you want just the frame, it's $345. Now let's talk about some pros and cons. First off, the aluminum frame is really the big change here. You have a little more weight, but it's going to help mitigate the recoil. So it is somewhat of a trade-off. The second thing about an aluminum frame is that you can do more with it. So just like with this beaver tail area, which I'm really a big fan of, I love the 1911 grips. It's a little bit thinner from front to back too, so it's going to give you a little more gripability unless you have really large hands. Also, I love this gas pedal that's incorporated right here. It does help mitigate the recoil, and the extra Picatinny rail is nice. I also like how they've rounded off the trigger guard to a point. So that gives you just a little less out here, and a lot of times guys, when they're upgrading their Glocks, they'll go ahead and remove that area as well. The slide, very well done, and of course you have those cuts that just kind of mold this together, front and back as well. Of course, sight compatibility with your Glocks, and also with this cutout here at the bottom to be able to pull those magazines out if you need to. Now, as far as cons go, I'm not a big fan of the sights. I mean, they're standard Glock sights. That can be easily remedied. And if you buy a Glock Gen 3, you're going to have those sights on there anyway, unless you buy the night sights version. One con too is, which is an easy remedy, is I'm not a big fan of the P mags. So definitely I will switch those out for your standard Glock mags. Trigger is Glock trigger. And of course, you can leave it in. It's fine. It's not really a con because this is pretty much a standard Glock trigger. But you can upgrade that. The weight of the aluminum is going to be about 4 ounces difference, so that's going to be something to take into consideration if you want to go lighter. But really, this again helps to mitigate the recoil, again with the beaver tail and the undercut and the gas pedal. It has a lot of features to it to be able to really shoot this gun well. And of course, the reliability was flawless. And I believe this one's going to find itself in my carry rotation, which says a lot because I have a lot of different choices. But I really like the Glock 19 already. And this, to me, if you're used to shooting Glock 19s, this is going to be a very swift transition to be able to get up to speed with this pistol. And a lot of guys are like, why mess with perfection? This is what I like. This is what I know. And I understand that as well because I've been shooting the Glock 19 since the 1980s. So this is definitely something that I'll never get rid of. But it's really nice to see upgrades and things that can be improved to perfection because we all know that nothing's perfect. So guys, again, I've been very aware of this pistol, have shot it a number of times at some of the media events. But really taking it out to the range is where you really get to feel how this gun performs. And guys, I was definitely impressed. Again, big Glock 19 fan, and so this just fits just perfectly in that niche, and I can use all my Glock 19 holsters and my Glock magazines. And we want to thank Alpha Foxtrot for sending the AF-C for this review. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Sootch00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. This comes in a, is it stainless steel? We appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammunition. Well, it's a good thing they're sponsored. I'm losing it. Parts in general, but there are some differences again. Okay, when it comes to the, plus that little beaver tail, it definitely allows you.
That wind's a blowing and the snow is falling.